The day started like any other on the International Space Station. Captain Min-jun floated in the observation module, his eyes fixed on the blue marble of Earth below. He sipped his morning coffee from a special space cup, enjoying the quiet before his crew woke up. Suddenly, a loud beep cut through the silence. Min-jun nearly spilled his coffee as he pushed off towards the communications panel. Red lights flashed, indicating an incoming signal. But this was no ordinary signal from Earth. What in the world? Min-jun muttered, his eyes widening as he read the screen. The signal was coming from deep space, far beyond any human satellites or probes. He pressed the alert button, waking up his crew. Within minutes, the rest of the team crowded around him, their faces a mix of excitement and fear. "Is it really aliens?" asked Su-yeon, the station's engineer. Her voice trembled slightly. Min-jun nodded slowly. "It seems so. The signal, it's not like anything we've seen before." As they watched, strange symbols appeared on the screen. They shifted and changed, as if trying to form patterns the humans could understand. After a few minutes, the symbols began to resemble letters, then words. "It's learning our language," gasped Jai-ho, the station's science officer. "It's adapting to communicate with us." Finally, a clear message appeared. "Help. Danger. Need dock. Emergency." The crew looked at each other, their faces pale. This was far beyond their training. Min-jun took a deep breath and pressed the transmit button. "This is Captain Min-jun of the International Space Station. We've received your message. Can you identify yourselves?" There was a long pause. The crew held their breath, waiting for a response. Then, more words appeared on the screen. "We are HFY or KAT. Ship damage. Request emergency docking." Min-jun's mind raced. They had no protocol for this. He needed to contact Earth immediately, but he also couldn't ignore a call for help. "Zerkath ship, we hear your request. Please stand by while we contact our superiors on Earth." The next few hours were chaos. Min-jun spoke with space agencies, governments, and military leaders from around the world. Everyone was shocked, scared, and unsure what to do. As the debates raged on Earth, the alien ship grew closer. Through the station's powerful telescope, they could see it now, a sleek, silvery vessel, unlike anything humans had ever built. It was huge, easily 10 times the size of the space station. "Captain," called out Su-yeon, her voice urgent. "I've been analyzing their ship. It's leaking some kind of radiation. If they don't dock soon, they might not survive." Min-jun clenched his fists. He couldn't wait any longer. Earth's leaders were still arguing, but lives were at stake. He made his decision. "Zerkath ship, this is Captain Min-jun. We're preparing for your emergency docking. Please follow our guidance signals." The crew scrambled to prepare. They sealed off sections of the station, ready to contain the alien visitors if needed. Su-yeon worked furiously to adapt their docking systems to the alien ship. As the massive vessel approached, everyone held their breath. Would their systems be compatible? Would the station's structure hold? With a soft thud and a hiss of air, the two ships connected. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, with a grinding of gears, the airlock began to open. Min-jun stood at the front, his heart pounding. Behind him, his crew waited nervously, some holding makeshift weapons, just in case. The airlock door slid open, revealing a tall, slender figure. It had silvery skin that seemed to shimmer and large, almond-shaped eyes that blinked slowly in the station's light. The alien raised a hand in what seemed like a gesture of peace. Then, to everyone's shock, it spoke in halting but clear English. "Thank you for saving us. We bring urgent warning. Great danger comes to your world." Min-jun stepped forward, extending his own hand in greeting. "Welcome to Earth's International Space Station. We're here to help. Please, tell us more about this danger." As the alien began to speak, Min Jun knew that everything was about to change. Humanity had made first contact, but it seemed the universe was a more dangerous place than they had ever imagined. The real challenge was just beginning. The space station buzzed with activity. It had been 2 days since the Zircath ship docked, and everyone was still on edge. Captain Min Jun hadn't slept much, spending most of his time talking with the aliens and relaying information to Earth. Su Yan, the station's engineer, was in her element. She had been given permission to examine the Zircath ship, and what she found amazed her. Their technology was decades, maybe centuries ahead of Earth's. "Look at this," Su Yan said, pointing to a glowing blue orb in the alien engine room. "I think this is their power source. It's like nothing we've ever seen." Min Jun nodded, impressed, but also worried. "That's great, Su Yan, but we need to focus. The Zircath said they were running from something dangerous. We need to find out what." As if on cue, Xalter, the Zircath ambassador, floated into the room. The silvery alien had learned English quickly, thanks to their advanced translation technology. "Captain Min Jun," Xalter said, his voice a soft whisper. "It is time we tell you why we came here." Min Jun followed Xalter to the station's conference room. The rest of the crew gathered around, eager to hear the alien story. Xalter's large eyes blinked slowly as he began. "Our people have been at war for many years. We fought against a race called the Vorlocks. They are brutal conquerors. They destroy everything in their path." The room was silent. Min Jun felt a chill run down his spine. "And they're coming here, to Earth?" Xalter nodded. "We believe so. They follow us, always. And your world, it has resources they want." Su Yan spoke up, her voice shaking slightly. "But surely we can fight them. Your technology is so advanced." The alien's shimmer seemed to dim. "The Vorlocks, their weapons are beyond even ours. They have energy beams that cut through our strongest ships. And their armor, nothing we have can break it." The humans exchanged worried glances. Jiho, the science officer, asked, "How do they make this armor?" "We do not know," Xalter replied. "It resists all energy weapons. Lasers, plasma, nothing works. That is why we ran. We cannot win." Min Jun's mind raced. This was worse than he'd imagined. He needed to warn Earth immediately. But first, he had more questions. "How long do we have before the Vorlocks arrive?" Xalter's answer was grim. "Days, maybe a week. They are not far behind us." The room erupted in panicked chatter. Min Jun raised his hand for silence. "We need to prepare. Su Yan, I want you to learn everything you can about the Zircath's defenses. Maybe we can adapt them for Earth." Su Yan nodded, determination in her eyes. "I'm on it, Captain." "Jai-ho," Min Jun continued, "work with Xalter. We need to know everything about these Vorlocks. Their weaknesses, their tactics, anything that might help." As the crew rushed to their tasks, Min Jun turned to the communication panel. He had to call Earth. The planet needed to prepare for war. Hours passed in a blur of activity. The space station became a hub of frantic preparation. Su Yan worked nonstop, studying the alien technology. Jiho filled databases with information about the Vorlocks. As Min Jun floated by the observation window, he saw something that made his heart sink. A fleet of Earth's most advanced spaceships was approaching the station. Leading them was the newest vessel in the fleet, the UNS Defender. The ship's captain, a stern-faced woman named Yun-Seo, soon boarded the station. Her expression was grim as Min Jun briefed her on the situation. "So," Yun-Seo said, her voice hard, "we're facing an alien invasion. An enemy we can't hurt, with weapons we can't stop." Min Jun nodded. "That's about the size of it, yes." Yun-Seo's eyes narrowed. "There has to be a way. No armor is perfect. No enemy is unbeatable. As they discussed strategies, Su-Yan burst into the room, her eyes wide with excitement. "Captain, I think I found something." Everyone turned to her. Su-Yan took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. "I've been studying the Zerkath weapons. They're all energy-based. Lasers, plasma, things like that. But what if that's the problem?" Min Jun leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Su-Yan's eyes sparkled. "What if the Vorloc's armor is designed to resist energy weapons? What if we tried something completely different?" NCO caught on quickly. "Something like projectile weapons, old-fashioned guns." Su-Yan nodded eagerly. "Exactly. It's so simple, the Vorloc's might never have considered it." For the first time in days, Min Jun felt a spark of hope. It was a long shot, but it was something. He turned to NCO. "Captain, I think we need to make some modifications to your ship's armament." As the group began to plan, Min Jun looked out the window at the stars. The Vorloc's were coming, but now, at least, they had a chance. Earth would not go down without a fight. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. News of the alien threats spread across Earth, causing both panic and determination. World leaders gathered at the United Nations for an emergency meeting. They had to decide how to face this danger. In New York, the UN building buzzed with tension. Representatives from every country sat in the large room, their faces serious. At the front, a giant screen showed a live feed from the space station. Captain Min Jun and Salter, the Zerkath ambassador, were ready to answer questions. The UN Secretary General, a tall woman named Yuma, called the meeting to order. "We face a threat unlike any in human history," she said. "We must decide. Do we help the Zerkath and fight the Vorloc's, or do we try to stay neutral?" The room erupted in debate. Some leaders wanted to fight. Others thought hiding might be safer. As they argued, a man stood up. It was Jae-won, South Korea's top military strategist. "May I speak?" Jae-won asked. When Yuna nodded, he continued, "I've been studying the information from the space station. I believe we have a chance to win this fight." Everyone listened closely as Jae-won explained the idea about using projectile weapons. "The Vorloc's expect energy weapons," he said. "But what about good old-fashioned bullets? Sometimes, the old ways are the best ways." The room was quiet for a moment. Then, the U.S. president spoke up. "It's crazy, but it just might work. We have the most advanced firearms on Earth. If they can pierce this alien armor, we have a fighting chance." More leaders started to agree. The idea of using simple guns against high-tech aliens was strange, but it gave them hope. Still, some were unsure. "But what if it doesn't work?" asked the French president. "We could be destroyed." Zelter's voice came through the speakers. "If you do not fight, the Vorloc's will destroy you anyway. They do not leave survivors." These words seemed to make up everyone's minds. Yuna called for a vote. One by one, countries decided to join the fight. Even those without strong militaries offered what help they could. After hours of discussion, the decision was made. Earth would stand with the Zerkath against the Vorloc's. Humanity would fight for its survival. As soon as the vote was finished, things moved quickly. Jae-won was put in charge of planning Earth's defense. He worked with military leaders from around the world to prepare their strategy. Back on the space station, Min Jun and his crew got ready for the coming battle. Su-Yan worked day and night to adapt human weapons for space combat. It wasn't easy, but she was determined to succeed. "We need to test these weapons," Su-Yan said, holding up a modified rifle. "But how? We don't have any Vorloc's armor to practice on." Min Jun thought for a moment. Then he turned to Salter. "You said the Vorloc's destroyed many of your ships. Is there any way we could find a piece of their armor? Even a small bit would help." Zalter's eyes widened. Yes, there might be. In the debris field where we last fought them. But it would be dangerous to go back there." Min Jun nodded. We'll have to risk it. We need to know if our weapons will work before the Vorloks arrive. Captain Inuncio, who had been listening, stepped forward. My ship, the UNS Defender, is the fastest in Earth's fleet. We can make the trip quickly. Good, said Minjun. Take Su-Yan with you. She knows what to look for. As Inuncio and Su-Yan prepared for their mission, Earth continued to get ready for war. Factories that once made cars now made spaceships. Gun makers worked overtime to produce weapons that might save humanity. All around the world, people trained for the coming fight. Soldiers learned to use their weapons in zero gravity. Pilots practiced flying alongside alien ships. Everyone did what they could to prepare. In space, more Zircath refugees arrived. They brought stories of Vorlok's cruelty that made everyone work even harder. The aliens were surprised and touched by how quickly humans had chosen to help them. We did not expect such bravery from a young species, Zalter told Minjun one day. You give us hope. Minjun smiled, but his eyes were serious. We're fighting for our lives and for our home. We won't go down easily. As the days passed, tension grew. Everyone knew the Vorloks could arrive at any time. But with each passing hour, Earth grew stronger, more prepared. In his quiet moments, Minjun looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the enemy was coming. But for the first time since this all began, he felt ready. Humanity had made its choice. Now, they would face whatever came together. As Earth prepared for war, a small team worked tirelessly in a secret lab. This was where Yujin, Earth's top weapons designer, led the effort to adapt human firearms for space combat. The lab was filled with the sounds of welding and the smell of gunpowder. Yujin held up a strange-looking gun. It was bulky and had many new parts. This is our latest design, she explained to Captain Minjun, who had come to check on their progress. We've solved the overheating problem and added a small jet for recoil in zero gravity. Minjun nodded, impressed. How soon can we start production? As soon as we know they work against Vorlok's armor, Yujin replied. We're waiting for Su-Yan to return with the samples. Meanwhile, in a large hangar nearby, astronaut Jai-Ho was training a mixed group of humans and Zircath. They floated in a zero-gravity chamber, practicing with dummy weapons. Remember, Jai-Ho called out, in space, every push has an equal reaction. If you fire, you'll move backward. Use your suit's thrusters to stay in position. A young Zircath named Kelter struggled with the unfamiliar weapon. Jai-Ho floated over to help. Like this, he said, guiding Kelter's hands. Humans have been using these for centuries. They may seem simple, but they're effective. Kelter's large eyes blinked in understanding. It is strange, he said, to think that your old technology might save us all. As the training continued, the UNS Defender returned from its dangerous mission. Su-Yan rushed into the lab, carrying a box. Her eyes were wide with excitement. We found it, she exclaimed, opening the box to reveal several pieces of dark, strange-looking metal. Vorlok's armor samples. It wasn't easy, but we got them. Yujin quickly took the samples and began running tests. Everyone waited nervously as she worked. After what seemed like hours, she looked up with a smile. It works, she said simply. Our bullets can penetrate their armor. The news spread quickly, bringing hope to everyone. Production of the new space weapons began immediately. Factories around the world worked day and night to build enough for Earth's defenders. But weapons were only part of the preparation. Earth's best snipers and marksmen were called in for a special mission. They gathered in a large room, wondering why they had been chosen. Jae-Hwan, the military strategist, stood before them. You are the best shots on Earth, he said. We need your skills for a dangerous but crucial task. You will be our frontline defense against the Vorloks. He explained the plan. The snipers would be positioned in key locations in space. Their job would be to target weak points in the Vorlok ships and armor. It was a risky mission, but essential for victory. One of the snipers, a quiet woman named Yuncio, not to be confused with the ship captain, spoke up. "Sir, how can we be accurate in space? There's no gravity, no wind. It's nothing like what we're used to." Jae-won nodded. "That's why you'll all undergo special training. We've developed new scopes and targeting systems to help you. It won't be easy, but I believe in your skills." As the snipers began their specialized training, another team worked on a different kind of weapon. Led by a young computer expert named Ta-won, they developed viruses and hacking tools to use against the Vorlok ships. "We don't know much about their computer systems," Ta-won explained to his team. "But every system has weaknesses. Our job is to find them and exploit them." Days turned into weeks as everyone worked tirelessly. The Zerkath shared what they knew about Vorlok's tactics and technology, helping humans refine their plans. In orbit, a fleet of Earth's ships gathered. They were joined by the remaining Zerkath vessels, forming a united defense force. Captain Yuncio, now in command of Earth's space fleet, oversaw the preparations. "We may be outnumbered," she told her officers, "but we have something the Vorloks don't expect. We have the element of surprise and the determination to protect our home." As the final preparations were made, a tense quiet fell over Earth. Everyone knew that the Vorloks could arrive at any moment. But instead of fear, there was a sense of readiness. In the secret lab, Yu-jin put the finishing touches on the last batch of space rifles. In the training hangar, Je-ho watched as humans and Zerkath worked together seamlessly. And in space, Captain Yuncio's fleet stood ready, a mix of Earth and alien ships united against a common enemy. The stage was set. Humanity had prepared as best it could. Now, all they could do was wait for the Vorloks to arrive and hope that their ingenuity and determination would be enough to save their world. The warning came suddenly. Earth's long-range sensors picked up a massive fleet approaching. The Vorloks had arrived. In the command center of the space station, Captain Min-jun watched as red dots appeared on the big screen. There were hundreds of them, far more than they had expected. "This is it," Min-jun said, his voice steady despite his fear. "Alert all ships. The battle for Earth begins now." Alarms blared throughout the human and Zerkath fleets. Pilots rushed to their ships. Gunners manned their stations. In the special sniper pods, Yuncio and her team checked their modified rifles one last time. The first Vorlok ships came into view. They were huge, dark shapes against the stars. Their hulls gleamed with a strange, shifting light that seemed to absorb any light that touched it. A voice boomed across all communication channels. It was deep and harsh, speaking in a language no one understood. But then, it switched to English. "Primitive beings," the voice said, "you shelter our enemies. Surrender the Zerkath, or be destroyed." Captain Yuncio, leader of Earth's fleet, responded. "This is Captain Yuncio of Earth. We will not surrender. This is our home, and we will defend it." For a moment, there was silence. Then, without warning, the Vorloks attacked. Beams of energy shot out from the alien ships, so bright they hurt to look at. Where they hit, human ships exploded or melted away. The battle had begun. Earth's fleet fought back. Missiles streaked across space, exploding against the Vorlok ships. But they seemed to do little damage. The alien armor was as strong as they had feared. In her command ship, Captain Yuncio gritted her teeth. "All ships, switch to projectile weapons. I repeat, use the new guns." Across the fleet, gunners loaded the special space rifles. They took aim and fired. Unlike the energy weapons, these bullets didn't bounce off or get absorbed. They punched small holes in the Vorlok ships. A cheer went up from the human fleet. The plan was working. But the Vorloks were far from beaten. Their ships were larger and more numerous. They pressed their attack, surrounding Earth's defenders. In his sniper pod, Yuncio, the sniper, not the captain, watched through her scope. She was looking for weak points, places where the alien armor seemed thinner, There, at a joint between two plates, she took a deep breath and fired. The high-powered bullet streaked across space. It hit exactly where Yun-Seo aimed, piercing deep into the Vorlok ship. A moment later, the alien vessel shuddered and went dark. Direct hit, Yun-Seo shouted. Aim for the joints in their armor. The other snipers followed her lead. One by one, Vorlok ships began to fall. But for every ship they took out, it seemed two more took its place. On the space station, Min-Jun watched the battle unfold. The human fleet was fighting bravely, but they were outnumbered. He turned to Xalter, the Zerkath ambassador. "We need more time," Min-Jun said. "Is there anything else you can tell us about the Vorloks? Any weakness we haven't seen?" Xalter's large eyes blinked slowly. "There is one thing," he said. "Their ships, they are all connected. They share power, information. If we could disrupt that connection..." Min-Jun's eyes widened. He quickly called Ta-1, the computer expert. "Ta-1, the Vorlok ships are networked. Can you hack them?" Ta-1's voice came back, excited. "A network? Yes, that gives us a way in. But we'd need to get close to one of their ships to access it." Min-Jun looked out at the battle raging around them. Getting close to a Vorlok ship seemed impossible, but then he had an idea. "Yun-Seo," he called to the sniper team leader. "We need a Vorlok ship disabled but not destroyed. Can your team do that?" "We'll do our best, sir," came the reply. As the snipers worked on their new task, the battle raged on. Earth's fleet was holding its own, thanks to the new weapons. But the Vorlok still had the advantage. Their energy weapons were taking a toll, and Earth's ships were running low on ammo. Captain Yun-Seo's voice crackled over the comm. "We can't hold them much longer. Whatever you're planning, Min-Jun, do it fast." Min-Jun watched the battle, his hands clenched. Everything depended on what happened next. Could they turn the tide, or was this humanity's last stand? The fate of Earth hung in the balance as the space battle reached its peak. The space around Earth was filled with flashes of light. Explosions bloomed like silent fireworks. In the middle of this chaos, a small team prepared for a dangerous mission. Sergeant Yun-Seo, the skilled sniper, led a group of 4 others. They floated in a small, stealthy ship, watching the battle through its windows. Their target was a Vorlok ship that had been hit but not destroyed. "Remember," Yun-Seo said to her team, "we need to be quick and quiet. Get in, protect Ta-1 while he works, and get out." Ta-1, the computer expert, checked his equipment one last time. He looked nervous but determined. "I'm ready," he said. "Let's hope this works." Their ship moved silently towards the damaged Vorlok's vessel. As they got closer, they could see the holes made by their new weapons. The alien ship looked less scary up close, more like a broken machine than an invincible enemy. "There," Yun-Seo pointed. "That's our way in." The pilot guided their ship to a large hole in the Vorlok's hull. With a soft thud, they connected. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see if they had been noticed. "No alarms," someone whispered. "I think we're okay." Yun-Seo nodded. "Let's move. We don't have much time." The team entered the Vorlok ship. Inside, it was dark and strange. The walls seemed to pulse with a faint light. They moved carefully, their modified rifles ready. Suddenly, a Vorlok soldier appeared around a corner. It was tall and covered in shiny, black armor. For a moment, both sides froze in surprise. Yun-Seo reacted first. She fired her rifle, aiming for the joints in the alien's armor. The Vorloks fell with a crash. "They can be hurt," Yun-Seo said. "Stay focused. We need to find their control room." They moved deeper into the ship. More Vorloks appeared, but the human team was ready. Their bullets found the weak spots in the alien armor every time. Finally, they reached a large room filled with glowing screens and strange machines. "This is it," Ta-1 said. "Cover me while I work." As Taiwan connected his computer to the Vorlock systems, the others stood guard. Outside, the battle still raged. They could hear the sounds of explosions, muffled by the ship's hull. Taiwan's fingers flew over his keyboard. "Their system is complex," he muttered, "but I think I've found a way in." Minutes passed. The team fought off more Vorlock soldiers. MCO began to worry. How long could they hold out? Then Taiwan shouted, "I've got it. Their whole fleet is connected. I can shut down their shields." Back on the space station, Min Jun watched the battle. Suddenly, the Vorlock ships began to flicker. Their strange, light-absorbing hulls became visible. It worked. Min Jun yelled, "All ships, attack now. The Vorlock shields are down." The human and Zircath fleet surged forward. Now their weapons, both energy and projectile, hit the Vorlock ships directly. One by one, the alien vessels began to fall. On the Vorlock ship, Yumseo and her team fought their way back to their own vessel. "We did it," she said, allowing herself a small smile. "Let's get out of here." As they escaped, they saw the battle turning. The Vorlocks, once seemingly invincible, were now in retreat. Captain Yumseo's voice came over the radio. "All ships, press the attack. Don't let them regroup." The human fleet, joined by their Zircath allies, chased the retreating Vorlocks. Ships exploded on both sides, but now the odds were even. In the command center, Min Jun watched with a mix of hope and worry. They were winning, but at what cost? How many lives had been lost? Zelter, the Zircath ambassador, stood beside him. "Your people are brave," he said. "We owe you a great debt." Min Jun nodded. "We're not done yet. But for the first time, I think we might actually win this." As the battle continued, news spread across Earth. People came out of shelters, looking up at the sky. They couldn't see the fight, but they knew their fate was being decided up there. In space, human ingenuity had turned the tide. Their primitive weapons, combined with their bravery and clever thinking, were defeating an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy. The Vorlocks were not beaten yet, but now they knew that Earth was not an easy target. Humanity had shown that it would fight to the last to defend its home. As the battle entered its final phase, Min Jun sent a message to all Earth's forces: "Keep fighting. We're almost there. Today, we save our world." The space around Earth was a graveyard of broken ships. Pieces of metal, both human and alien, floated silently. But in this destruction, a new hope was born. The last of the Vorlock ships were retreating. Their once mighty fleet was now a scattered group of damaged vessels. Earth's combined forces, humans and Zircath together, chased them to the edge of the solar system. On the main screen of Earth's space station, Captain Min Jun watched the Vorlock's fleet jump into hyperspace. They were gone. Earth had won. For a moment, there was silence. Then cheers erupted from every radio channel. In the command center, people hugged and cried with joy. Min Jun felt tears in his own eyes as he realized what they had done. "We did it," he said softly. "We actually did it." Zelter, the Zircath ambassador, placed a hand on Min Jun's shoulder. "Your people have saved not just your world, but many others. The Vorlocks will think twice before attacking anyone again." As the news spread, celebrations began around the world. People poured into streets, hugging strangers and looking up at the sky with new wonder. Earth had faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. In the days that followed, the true impact of what had happened became clear. The Vorlocks, once thought unbeatable, had been defeated by a young species they had dismissed as primitive. The story spread quickly through the galaxy. Other alien races, who had been too afraid to stand against the Vorlocks, now looked to Earth with admiration. Messages of congratulation and offers of friendship poured in from across the stars. But victory had come at a cost. Many brave soldiers had given their lives to protect Earth. Memorial services were held around the world to honor the fallen heroes, At one such service, Sergeant Yumseo stood quietly, remembering her team. They had all survived their dangerous mission, but many of their fellow soldiers had not been so lucky. She placed a flower at the memorial, silently promising to never forget their sacrifice. As Earth began to rebuild, it was clear that things would never be the same. Humanity was now part of a larger galactic community. The technology they had developed to fight the Vorlocks would change life on Earth in many ways. In a lab, Yujin worked with Zircath scientists to combine their technologies. "If we can adapt our projectile weapons to your energy systems," she explained, "we might create defenses that no one can break through." The Zircath were eager to learn from humans too. They were fascinated by Earth's old technology, seeing new potential in ideas they had long abandoned. In space, the cleanup began. Teams of humans and Zircath worked together to clear the debris from the battle. As they worked, they shared stories and began to form friendships. On Earth, governments debated how to move forward. Some wanted to use their new status to become a major power in the galaxy. Others urged caution, warning against repeating the mistakes of the Vorlocks. In the end, a middle path was chosen. Earth would share its knowledge and help protect other worlds, but it would not seek to conquer or control. As a symbol of this new path, a joint human Zircath space station was built. It would serve as a place for different species to meet, trade, and learn from each other. Captain Minjun was chosen to lead this new station. At the opening ceremony, Minjun stood before a crowd of humans and aliens. He looked out at the faces, so different yet united in hope for the future. "We have learned much from this battle," he said. "We learned that even the mightiest can fall, that old ideas can solve new problems. But most importantly, we learned that together, we are stronger than we ever could be alone." As he finished his speech, Minjun looked up at the stars. Once they had seemed distant and cold. Now they were full of possibility. Earth had taken its place among the stars. It had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but wiser. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity was ready for whatever the galaxy might bring. And somewhere out there, the Vorlocks nursed their wounds and marveled at how a species they had dismissed as primitive had defeated them. They had learned a hard lesson: never underestimate the ingenuity, bravery, and determination of humanity.